Hoy! Ang binibenta sa atin, hindi lang yung item mismo, kundi yung pakiramdam at status na kasama nito. Kapag suot mo to, successful ka, mas klase ka, at mas angat ka sa iba. Which to be fair, minsan mataas naman talaga yung quality ng ibang luxury items. Pero kadalasan, sobrang laki rin ang markup nila. May mga mas murang brands naman na halos same lang din ang functionality at quality. Kaya minsan, hindi mo na binabayaran yung item mismo, pero yung branding at status symbol na lang nito. At napansin ko, yung mga nagpapanggap na mayaman, inuuna nila yung luho bago sila magkaroon ng tunay na yaman. Samantalang yung mga totoong may pera, kadalasan huli na, pinipili yung mga ganitong bagay. Kapag stable na sila financially at kaya na talaga nila. Number two, piniflex yung pera o income. Kasi mo ba yung mga tao sa social media na lagi may flex ng pera? Minsan nakapost yung cash, minsan naman screenshot ng sales o naman ng bank account. Pero tanong ko sa'yo, nakita mo ba yung mga totoong mayaman na ganun umasta? Yung mga anak nila Henry C., Gokong Wei at iba pa. Lagi ba sila nagpo-post na may hawak na pera o screenshot ng account nila? Diba hindi? Kasi yung mga totoong secure talaga sa pera, hindi nila kailangan ng validation mula sa ibang tao. Pero yung mga nagpapanggap na mayaman, parang laging gustong may mapatunayan. Mapapansin mo, kahit na hindi naman tungkol sa pera yung usapan, biglang isisingit yung income nila, yung sales nila, o kung magkano raw yung ginastos nila. Pare, naka 300k ako dyan. Alam mo yung tipong wala namang nagtatanong, pero kailangan mong malaman o malaman ng lahat. At minsan, yung piniflex na hindi naman actual na neto na kinita. Kadalasan potential income pa lang. Yung tipo, may paparating ako malaking deal na hindi kitain ko dyan pre. Pero in reality, wala pa naman talaga. At what if, hindi tumuloy, edi mas nakakahiya yun. Kaya tandaan mo, hanggang hindi ka pumapasok ng pera sa account mo, hindi pa totoong pera yan. Pero yung totoong mayayaman, tahimik lang yan sa finances nila. At hindi nila need ng extra validation. Which leads us to number three, the big opportunity na binibenta. Napansin mo ba, yung mga tao lagi nagsisearch ng pera at success online, kadalasan sila rin yung may binibenta o inaalok ng big opportunity. Pre, ito na, yung next big thing. Ito kayo yaman. Idoble ang pera mo. Wala ka nang halos walingin. Minsan, networking hype, crypto hype, investment kuno, or online business, or franchise na na sobrang dali. Kapag pinakinggan mo, parang posible nang hindi kayo libhaman. Pero kadalasan, kapag sobrang ganda pa kasi ang totoong pagyaman, hindi madali. Bagal yan at boring ka. Walang overnight success na guaranteed. At many years talaga bago mo ma-feel na umaasenso ka financially. Kaya kapag may nakausap kang sobrang aggressive, nagbenta ng good opportunity, especially yung tipong minamadali ka pa, mag-ingat ka na. Baka hindi opportunity ang habol niyan, kundi yung hard-earned money mo. At bago tayo magpatuloy kung gusto mo lang updated sa mga content, like and subscribe. Kapag ka rin, notification din. Salamat. Number 4, lagi siyang mas magaling sa'yo. Yung mga faking mayaman, gusto nila lagi silang bida sa usapan. Kailangan mas anak sila, mas successful, mas may experience, at mas may pera sa'yo. Pag may komento ka, parang automatic kailangan may mas matindi silang version. Halimbawa, sinabi mo may property kayo sa probinsya. Sasabihin niya, "Ang pre, dalawa pa nga lupa namin. Alas na ako yan, pagkakatayan namin ng bahay. Pag natuwa ka naman dahil nakabili ka ng bagong phone, biglang, oo pre, ako rin. Limited na lang sa akin. Pag nagbakasyon ka sa Japan, nasir pa kami dun pre. Online kami dun. Business class package namin. Alam mo yung tipong hindi pwedeng ikaw yung malaman kahit minsanan lang. Pero in reality, yung mga totoong successful na tao, hindi nila kailangang manalo sa bawat usapan. Hindi sila threatened kapag may achievement ka. Kadalasan, mas masarap pa silang kausap na hindi umiikot sa sarili nila ang usapan. Tulad nitong susunod na sign na connected din dito.
Ano ba pinagagawa mo?
Number 5, mahilig magpahirap. Isa pa itong sign ng pekeng mayaman. Lagi may mention ng artista, influencer, basketball player, o sikat na negosante. Para lang magmukhang connected sila sa mga taong may status. Hindi po akala mo sobrang close sila. Pero in reality, pagpapicture lang pala kung may litrato lang. Kasama na rin dito yung walang tigil na pagbanggit ng yung Rolex ko, kung nasa ibang bansa kami, yung todo namin. Alam mo yung tipong kahit hindi naman kailangan sabihin na wala sa topic, pilit na isisingit pa rin para lang magmukhang importante siya at mayaman. Pero napansin ko yung mga totoong may pera at successful, simple lang at private ang buhay. Hindi nila kailangan gamitin yung pangalan ng ibang tao o brands para lang tumaas ang tingin sa kanila. Katulad nitong susunod na sign. Number 6, mayayabang yung mga plano. Sa bang sign ng peking mayaman, ang daming plano pero puro salita lang. Pre, magtatayo ako ng business. Bibili ako ng lupa. Magpapagawa ako ng apartment. Next year, kukuha ako ng bagong sasakyan. Dami sinasabing plano, pero ilang taon na, ganun pa rin. Kasi minsan, mas madali talagang magkwento kaysa kumilos. At totoo rin naman na nakaka-feel good mag-share ng malaking plano. Parang feeling mo, successful ka na agad at hindi mo pa naman talaga nasisimulan. Kaya may mga tao na sobrang galing magsalita, pero kulang naman sa action, disiplina, at execution. Walang follow-through. Samantalang yung mga totoong successful na tao, kadalasan, less talk, more work. Hindi kailangan i-broadcast lahat ng plano sa social media o sa ibang tao. Mas focus sila na gawin yun behind the scenes. Tsaka ng friendly. Number 7, post sa status sa trending or validation. Sa pangkatangian ng peking mayaman, sobrang uhaw nila sa validation ng ibang tao. Conscious sila sa likes, comments, clicks, at trends sa social media. Kapag may trending na bagong gadget, kailangan meron din sila. Kapag uso mag-travel sa isang bansa o sa isang lugar, kailangan mag-post din sila doon. Kahit in reality, hindi naman talaga afford at pupuntahan pa. Most of the time, hindi rin necessity yung binibili nila at for validation lang talaga. Ito bang masama? Bibili pa ng fake luxury items para lang magmukhang in ang social online. Taking designer bags, taking relo, taking branded shoes at damit. Mas worse ata to dahil literal na peking mayaman ka. Health-checking rin yung mga gamit mo. Wala kang mali ang logo, sablay ang quality, at obvious na imitation lang. Lahat para lang sa image mo at status symbol. Pero ang problema kasi sa social media, madaling isipin na lahat ng makikita mo, totoo. Eh karamihan dyan, curated lang naman. Highlight reels lang, hindi ang totoong storya. Hindi mo nakikita yung utang, stress, o financial problems sa likod ng post. At napansin ko, kung yung totoong may pera, hindi naman umiikot yung buhay nila sa likes at comments. Hindi nila kailangan i-document lahat para lang may mapatunayan sa ibang tao. Kasi at the end of the day, mas importante pa rin yung tunay na financial stability kaysa sa online image at status mo lang. Which leads us to the last one, number 8, over-enrolling. For sure, may kilala kang ganito. Nagbibili lang sa kanto, pero parang pupunta sa music video shoot yung forma. Gold chain, madaming bracelet, may shades kahit gabi, puro branded logo yung suot at sapatos. Tapos minsan, pasosyal o may pagka-arrogante pa magsalita. Kumbaga, sobra na yung effort para lang magmukhang mayaman. At wala na sa lugar yung asta at forma. Pero yung mga totoong may pera na nakilala ko, madalas sila pa yung simple manamit. Minsan, plain t-shirt lang, minsan nga, luma pa o butas-butas. Oo, meron din silang mamahaling gamit o latest gadgets. Pero hindi nila kailangan i-display lahat yan para ma-impress yung ibang tao. Kasi yung totoong mayaman, hindi nila kailangan magmukhang mayaman araw-araw at magpa-impress sa iba. May iba pa bang signs na hindi natin nabanggit? Comment down below. Kung gusto mo malaman ang 9 money tips o golden rules para totoong yumaman, panoorin mo na itong susunod na video sa screen. Click mo na. Watch na.
Why are you eating more protein than ever? Pounding down.
A tiny movement of your finger, and somehow a bullet lands exactly where you aimed hundreds of meters away. But here's the strange part, which is why bigger scopes often perform better in low light conditions like dawn or dusk. Once light enters the objective lens, it travels through a series of internal lenses called arrector lenses. These lenses flip the image upright because the first lens actually turns the image upside down naturally. Without correction, everything you saw through the scope would appear inverted. Then the image reaches the eyepiece lens near your eye. This final lens magnifies and sharpens the picture so your brain sees a clear target. What's fascinating is that the scope is basically manipulating light the entire time. It bends incoming light rays, focuses them into a usable image, corrects orientation, and delivers that image precisely into your eye. All of this happens instantly every time you look through the scope.
Implement head and shoulders because it's the most expensive.
Slightly behind the scope. That effect comes from how the lenses align the reticle with the magnified image. Some scopes place the reticle in what's called the first focal plane, where the reticle changes size as magnification changes. Others use the second focal plane, where the reticle stays the same size regardless of zoom level. Each system has advantages depending on how the shooter plans to use the scope. To the shooter, it feels simple. Put the crosshair on the target and pull the trigger, but behind that simplicity is a very precise optical illusion. When people shop for scopes, magnification is usually the first thing they notice. Numbers like 3x, 9x, or 24x sound impressive, but magnification is more complicated than bigger is better. A 3x scope makes objects appear 3 times closer. A variable scope marked 39X can zoom between those levels. Inside the scope, moving lens groups adjust them. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details. Sa pusong kumakayon, para sa pusong breadwinner, laban din mo kay Heartmark. What actually matters when your life depends on the choice. Not accuracy, not brand reputation, but which 22 rifle will put freedom in your hands after the ammunition situation falls apart. 6 days into the field evaluation, the rifles dominating online survival discussion started changing positions fast once the premium load disappeared. Bulk Pack 22LR took over, temperatures dropped, fatigue set in, and one respected platform suddenly became far harder to trust than the internet would have you believe. Meanwhile, another rifle just kept cycling, kept placing shots, and kept solving the one problem that matters if everything collapses tomorrow, bringing food back consistently. But once cheaper bulk ammunition entered the equation, the exact kind of ammo most people would realistically stockpile, reliability became inconsistent. Not catastrophic, just unpredictable. And unpredictable matters, because in a food procurement scenario, you cannot afford to wonder whether the next round will cycle properly after the shot breaks. That reliability feeling becomes harder to ignore when you examine repairability. The rifle disassembles easily, but the parts responsible for cycling issues are not components you realistically fix in the field without tools or a bench. The old Marlin 70 PSF handled a wider variety of ammunition more reliably, but it sacrificed the AR-7's greatest strength, extreme portability and flotation, and that defines this rifle perfectly. The AR-7 is not built to dominate harsh survival conditions. It is built for emergencies where size and weight matter more than long-term durability. A rifle that trust mattered more than portability. Number 5. Savage Mark II, 40 yards. Kneeling, wind pushing from the left. The shot looked nothing like the clean bench rest groups people post online. And the Savage Mark II handled that transition better than I expected. Because both actions remove one major variable, cycling. You manage the shot. The rifle handles the rest. That simplicity is why the Mark II has survived for decades. Savage built this platform around consistency, and the field keeps validating it. The AccuTrigger system, adjustable from roughly 2.5 to 6 pounds, stops feeling like a target shooting feature once cold hands and fatigue enter the equation. Then it becomes a survival feature. You tune it to work exactly when you intend. The rifle runs a 21-inch barrel at about 5.5 pounds, and that extra length matters with subsonic 22 LR. The rounds stay stable, stay quiet, and hold accuracy better than they do from shorter barrels. And accuracy is where the Mark II quietly earns its reputation. The same traits that made it popular in entry-level precision rimfire shooting. Smooth bolt throw, consistent head spacing, predictable trigger control, translate directly into reliable small game performance when the shot has to land exactly where you call it. The detachable 10-round magazine also handled ammunition far better than most semi-autos in this category. Standard velocity, high velocity, hollow point, bulk loads, subsonic. Every load type chambered and extracted cleanly, because the bolt-action system does not depend on ammunition pressure to cycle. That matters, because survival rifles are not tested with perfect ammunition. They're tested with whatever ammunition you still have left. This is a rifle people drop, scratch, soak in
remain and keep using for years without changing how it behaves. And that became the defining trait of this evaluation, not flashy features, just repeatable reliability in every condition I put it through. Number 4. Ruger American Rimfire. Mile 4 of the evaluation. The pack starts feeling heavier. Every ounce begins charging interest. And the Ruger American Rimfire started making that conversation happen earlier than I expected. That finding will frustrate a lot of rimfire enthusiasts, because this rifle has an outstanding reputation, and honestly, it earned it. Reliable rotary magazines, a cold hammer-forged barrel, adjustable stock segment, and accuracy that most 22LR rifles would struggle to match. On paper, it feels nearly perfect for collapsed conditions, but the field punishes things spec sheets ignore. At 6.5 pounds, the American Rimfire carries noticeably heavier than rifles like the Savage Mark II, and after hours of movement through rough terrain, that weight stops being a number and starts becoming fatigue. The rifle absolutely delivers excellent precision, but inside realistic food procurement distances, around 40 yards, the practical advantage shrinks fast. The extra carry weight doesn't, and that became the defining issue. Because this evaluation wasn't measuring bench rest performance, it was measuring efficiency. A rifle meant to help keep you fed cannot quietly drain calories every mile you carry it. The trigger helped recover points immediately, even with cold hands, gloves, and awkward field positions. The brake stayed predictable and easy to manage. Reliability was also excellent. The rotary magazine system fed nearly every 22LR load cleanly, including lower quality bulk ammunition that realistic collapse conditions make far more likely. A survival rifle is not judged by how impressive it feels at 80 yards from a shooting bench. It's judged by how little energy it wastes while still putting food on the ground consistently. And that reality pushed the American Rimfire lower than many people. Number 2. Bergara BXR. You're carrying it at first light. The pack is adjusted correctly, or as correctly as a pack gets by day 3, and the BXR is on your shoulder, and for the first mile and a half, you don't think about it once. That became the defining experience of this rifle. Most discussions about the BXR focus on the barrel, and honestly, they should. The rifle runs a 20-inch carbon fiber wrapped barrel, while keeping total weight at just 5 pounds unloaded. That combination is rare. Most rifles carrying that much barrel length start punishing you after hours of movement. The BXR doesn't. And in a field evaluation built around food procurement, that matters. The longer barrel extracts excellent velocity from 22 long rifle loads, while still keeping subsonic ammunition below the speed of sound. That detail became critical during testing, because a true subsonic round keeps noise dramatically lower, roughly in the 116 decibel range, instead of the sharper crack produced by standard velocity. Bergara uses the same precision rifling philosophy found in their centerfire rifles, and it showed. Subsonic rounds stayed predictable at realistic field distances, instead of drifting unpredictably the way some lightweight rimfires do. That predictability matters more than raw accuracy numbers.
State Road in the Tacony section of Philadelphia, there is a low brick building that most people drive past without a second look. But if you had stood on that same ground 100 years ago, you would not have been able to hear yourself think. The air carried the smell of hot steel and coal smoke from machinery. The ground shook with the rhythm of strip hammers and rolling mills, a sound the workers felt in their chests before they heard it in their ears. Before sunrise, the whistle called thousands of men through the gates, and inside those buildings, on an ordinary working day, this single company made roughly 5 man most distant workers never met. We will get to his name, but first you have to understand what he took. I apologize if the ads interrupted your experience watching this video, but that is how I keep this channel running and bring more stories like this one to you. If an ad comes up, clicking it is the best way to support what we do. It costs you nothing but a second. To understand the empire, you have to start with a 14-year-old boy, standing on a Philadelphia dock in 1833, watching his father die. Henry Diston was born in 1819 in Tewkesbury, England, into a family of skilled machinists. His father built lace-making machines, and when an American mill in Albany invited him to install one of his machines, he packed up his son and his daughter and sailed for the New World. They landed in Philadelphia. 3 days later, Henry's father was dead. The boy who had crossed an ocean to start a new life was suddenly alone in Philadelphia, trying to convince them an American boy could make a blade as good as the English ones they already trusted. In those first years, fire destroyed his building once, and at least once his machinery was seized in a dispute over rent. Each time, he had less than nothing, debt on top of ruin, and each time he started over. Everything Diston became was built on the will of one man who had nothing and refused to quit. That was the trick. It would also, 2 generations later, become the weakness, because a company built on one family's thrift does not easily survive the moment that family lets go. In the beginning, Henry Diston faced a problem that looked impossible. The best saw steel in the world came from Sheffield, England. Every American sawmaker had to import it, at the mercy of British suppliers and British prices. An American saw was only as good as the English steel inside it. So in 1855, Diston did something no one in America had done. He built his own crucible steel furnace, brought over Sheffield steel workers to run it, and cast the first crucible saw steel ever made in the United States. From that moment, Diston no longer answered to England. He made his own steel, to his own recipe, in his own city. He rolled it, hardened it, and ground it under one roof. That was the engine of everything that followed. Why did it make it unique? It made its own steel. It made its own products, using tens of thousands of them every year just to sharpen its own saw. It made its own brass tools, cast its own medallions, even aged its own apple wood for the handle. By the early 20th century, the company even cast its own steel in an electric furnace, among the first in the nation to do it. This was a fortress. Nothing came in that Diston did not control. And a fortress is magnificent right up until the day the world outside changes faster than the walls can move. The very thing that made Diston unbeatable, owning every step and controlling every process, also meant that the day those processes went out of date, the company had everything to lose, and nothing it could quickly change. By the early 1870s, Henry Diston needed room to grow, and he had an idea bigger than a factory. He bought nearly 400 acres, and he did not just build a plant there, he built a town. Diston laid out strips, and along them he built more than 600 row houses for his workers. Some he rented, others he sold to a company savings and loan, so a saw grinder could actually own his home. He wrote restrictions into the deed: no taverns, no factories that would foul the air his workers breathed. He built a music hall, a library, schools, churches, a savings bank, a park. He believed, in the way some 19th century industrialists did, that a man who lived well and owned his home and sent his children to a decent school would be a steadier, better worker, and he built an entire town to prove it. Tacony became the only company town in the United States ever established inside the limits of an existing city. A man could be born in a distant, learn to read in a distant library, marry in a distant church, and work his whole life in the dead zone. It was paternalism at its most complete and at its most fragile. A world that good only holds together as long as the family at the top keeps caring. The moment ownership stopped being personal, the moment the name and the deed belonged to a holding company instead of a dividend, every product built into those claims became someone else's property to honor or to walk away from. When Henry Diston died of a stroke in 1878, at the age of 58, he was laid to rest in the largest mausoleum in Laurel Hill Cemetery. He had arrived in America a penniless orphan and left it the master of an industrial dynasty, land deal one man had ever made anywhere in the world. Hamilton poured his stock fortune into draining the Everglades. He dug more than 80 miles of canal. He founded the town of St. Croix. He tried and failed to drain Lake Okeechobee. His canals and his land sales did more to open Florida to settlement than almost anything before them. In the years after his purchase, railroad mileage in the state quadrupled, and winter tourists began arriving by the tens of thousands. For a few years, he was the largest landowner in America, a saw heir who had reshaped the map of an entire state. And then the money ran out, the speculation soured, and when Hamilton died in 1896, at the age of 51, the banks moved in on his Florida hold. The lesson sitting quietly underneath that adventure is the one that matters most. By the second generation, the distant wealth was already wandering. The grandsons of the founder were chasing swampland in Florida, while the sawmills in Philadelphia kept running on the system 10 years ago. The factories still made the best saws in the world, but the family's attention had already begun to drift away from the scale. And yet, for now, none of that changed. Because the product is.
Alam mo ba na ang lugar na pinakapuntahan ng mga Pilipino tuwing weekend, ang lugar na puno ng tawanan, pagkain at pamilya, ay itinayo sa isang lugar na dating puro tubig ng dagat? Alam mo ba na ang lalaking responsable sa lahat ng ito ay dumating sa Pilipinas nang walang gilid ng daan? Alam mo ba na ang pinakamalaking ay natigilan ng mga kontrobersya mula sa mga tanong tungkol sa pundasyon nito hanggang sa epekto nito sa mga mangingisda at mangingisda? At alam mo ba na sa unang araw pa lamang ng pagbubukas nito, 1,000,000 tao ang dumating? 1,000,000. Sa iisang araw, yan ang tatalakay natin ngayon. Pero bago po ang lahat, baka pwedeng palike ang video na ito dahil napakalaking bagay na ito sa aming content creators at mangyari na
Tapos ako sa
para
na.
malaman namin saan umaabot ang ating mga video. Maraming salamat. Sa baybay ng Manila Bay, may isang lugar na dating walang ibang makikita kundi tubig. Alon, hangin, kalawakan ng dagat, walang gusali, walang tindahan, walang anumang istruktura na nagpapahiwatig na dito sa lugar na ito na puro dagat, magtatayo ang isa sa pinakamalaking mall sa buong mundo. Ngunit sa isipan ng isang lalaking lumaki sa kahirapan, isang lalaking nagsimula sa wala, ang lugar na ito ay hindi dagat. Para sa kanya, ito ay isang blankong canvas, isang lugar kung saan maaari niyang itayo ang kanyang pinakamalaking pangarap. At sa loob ng 4 na taon, mula 2002 hanggang 2006, ginawa niya ang imposible. Ginawa niyang lupa ang dagat. Sa lupang iyon, itinayo niya ang SM Mall of Asia. Ang mall na ngayon ay bahagi na ng buhay ng bawat Pilipino. SM Mega Mall, SM South Mall. Isa-isa, taon-taon, lungsod-lungsod. Ngunit sa lahat ng mga mall na iyon, may isa siyang pinakamalaking pangarap. Isang mall na hindi lang magiging pinakamalaki sa Pilipinas, kundi isa sa pinakamalaki sa buong mundo. Isipin mo ang sitwasyon noong kalagitnaan ng dekada siyang naku. May isang lalaki na may isang pangarap na tila imposible. Magtayo ng isang world-class mall na hindi sa lupa kundi sa dagat. Sa reclaimed land sa tabi ng Manila Bay. Ngunit bakit doon? Bakit pipiliin ng isang negosyante na magtayo sa isang lugar na kailangan pang gawing lupa? Bakit hindi na lang pumili ng mas simpleng lokasyon? Ang sagot ay nasa estratehiya. Ang Bay City sa Pasay ay isa sa mga pinaka-estratehikong lokasyon sa buong Metro Manila, malapit sa Maynila, malapit sa Pasay. madaling puntahan mula sa iba't ibang bahagi ng metro. At ang view ng Manila Bay ay isang bagay na walang ibang mall sa Pilipinas ang meron. Kaya noong 2002, opisyal na nagsimula ang reklamasyon at konstruksyon. Para sa December, pinili ng SM Prime ang Architectonica ay isang Miami-based international design firm na kilala sa kanilang modern at iconic architectural style. Kasama nila ang mga lokal na eksperto upang matiyak na ang mall ay magiging komersyal na kaakit-akit, functional at ligtas. Ngunit ang pinakakomplikadong bahagi ng buong proyekto ay hindi ang disenyo, kundi ang pundasyon. Dahil ang reclaimed land ay ang lupa na ginawa mula sa dagat, ay natural na mas malambot kaysa sa natural na lupa. At sa isang bansang madalas tinatamaan ng lindol, ang tanong ng structural stability ay isang bagay na hindi basta-basta maaari. Kailangan nilang mag-dredge ng lupa mula sa ilalim ng dagat. Kailangan nilang mag-compact ng lupa para maging stable. Kailangan nilang tiyakin na ang pundasyon ay isang napakalaking istruktura, isang istruktura na may gross floor area na 386,224 na metro kuwadrado ay mananatiling matatag sa loob ng maraming dekada. Hindi ito simpleng trabaho. Ito ay isa sa mga pinakakomplikadong engineering challenges sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. At sa loob ng 4 na taon, ginawa nila ito. Noong Mayo 21, 2006, opisyal na binuksan ng SM Mall of Asia, isang engranding seremonya. Mga opisyal ng gobyerno, mga celebrities, mga negosyante, at ang pinakamahalaga, ang mga ordinaryong Pilipino. Libo-libo ang pumunta. Daan-daan libo. 1,000,000 sa iisang araw. 1,000,000 tao ang bumisita sa MOA. Sa unang araw pa lamang ng pagbubuo, isang pahayag na ang mga Pilipino ay handang yakapin ng isang bagong karanasan. Sa loob ng napakalaking espasyo ng MOA, natuklasan ng mga bisita ang isang mundo na hindi pa nila nakikita sa Pilipinas. Libo-libong tindahan, international restaurants, lifestyle shops, isang Olympic-sized ice skating rink, ang unang ganito sa Pilipinas na accessible sa pangkalahat ng publiko, bowling centers, IMAX theaters, exhibition halls, at ang pinaka-iconic sa lahat, ang view ng Manila Bay mula sa Entertainment Mall, ang pagsasakay ng Ferris wheel sa tabi ng dagat, ang panunood ng sunset habang kumakain sa isang restaurant na nakaharap sa Manila Bay. Iyon ang karanasang ibinigay ng MOA sa mga Pilipino. At iyon ang dahilan kung bakit agad itong naging bahagi ng kultura ng bansa. Sa paglipas ng mga taon, hindi nakaligtas ang MOA sa mga kontrobersya. Una, ang tanong ng structural integrity. May mga panahon na kumalat ang mga tanong sa social media tungkol sa posibleng panganib sa pundasyon ng MOA. Ngunit ayon sa SM Prime at sa mga lokal na pamahalaan, ang MOA ay sumailalim sa masusing structural assessment at patuloy na minomonitor upang matiyak ang kaligtasan ng publiko. Pangalawa, at ito ang mas malaking usapin, ang environmental impact ng reclamation sa Manila Bay. Ang MOA at ang mga kalapit na proyekto ay bahagi ng mas malawak na urban development plan na may epekto sa marine ecosystem ng Manila Bay. Ang reclamation ay nagbabago ng natural na daloy ng tubig. Nakakaapekto sa mga coral reef at mangrove forests. Maraming environmental groups at lokal na mga isla ang nagbigay ng kanilang opinyon laban sa mga reclamation projects. Para sa mga mangingisdang ang kabuhayan ay nakasalalay sa Manila Bay, ang bawat metro ng reclaimed land ay isang metro ng kanilang kinabukasan na nawawala. Ngunit sa kabila ng lahat ng kontrobersyang ito, hindi maaaring baliwalain ang tunay na epekto ng MOA sa buhay ng mga Pilipino. Ang MOA ay lumikha ng libu-libong trabaho. Ang MOA Arena ay naging venue ng mga world-class na concert at sporting events. Ang SMX Convention Center ay naging tahanan ng mga international business conferences. At ang MOA mismo, bilang isang tourist destination, ay nag-aambag ng malaking halaga sa ekonomiya ng Pasay at ng buong Metro Manila. Si Henry Sai Sr. ay pumanaw noong Enero 19, 2019 sa edad na siyang 94. Ngunit ang kanyang legacy ay nananatiling buhay. Hindi lang sa MOA, kundi sa bawat SM Mall, sa bawat sulok ng Pilipinas. Sa bawat babaeng nagkat, sa bawat pamilyang naglibang, sa bawat pangarap na naging posible dahil sa isang lalaking naniniwala na ang imposible ay maaaring gawing posible. Ang kwento ng Mall of Asia ay hindi lang isang kwento ng isang mall. Ito ay isang kwento ng isang tao na naniniwala sa kapangyarihan ng isang pangarap. Isang lalaking dumating sa Pilipinas na walang galak hindi ang kanyang determinasyon at nag-iwan ng isang legacy na mararamdaman ng mga Pilipino sa loob ng maraming henerasyon. Para sa ating mga Pilipino, may aral tayo mula sa kwento ng MOA at ng lalaking nagtatayo nito. Ang tagumpay ay hindi nanggagaling sa kung gaano kakayaman sa simula. Nanggagaling ito sa kung gaano kadeterminado na magtayo ng isang bagay na mas malaki kaysa sa iyong sarili. Si Henry Smith ay nagsimula sa isang maliit na tindahan sa sapatos. Ngunit ang kanyang isipan